Well, greetings and welcome to our Bible study time. It's great to be with you today. I think what I'm going to do is in our devotion times, we have been looking at Abram. And even though some of you have been around for a little while in Bible study, we've already done Genesis. I've certainly been looking at Genesis a little bit different, and it's been more of a narrative. We've been looking at certain characters a little more in devotion time. And I'm going to just move our devotions into our Bible study time here. And I might this Friday talk about Abram a little bit more, but I'm probably going to bring that to a close and just move more into the time here in our Bible study. And it gives me a little more room to deal with some of the technical stuff. And obviously we're going a bit slower here, but I think it's a worthy challenge we have before us in looking at these different characters. And especially as we leave Abram behind and then move into Moses, things will, there's a lot to look at there. So today let's continue from devotions, but now into our Bible study, a look at Abram. And in our devotion time, we've been looking at Hagar, and this is the maidservant of Sarai, who has been tasked to be a surrogate for Abram's seed, to produce heirs. And in our devotion time, we discovered that God said, hey, your seed will multiply, and just all the promises that come with that. The great nations, kingdoms would come out of the heritage of Abram. And Abram was wanting a child of his own, but he and Sarah couldn't conceive. And Sarah takes a step that God didn't recommend, but was culturally acceptable at the time, to allow Hagar to step in as a substitute for her, and she would adopt this heir. And as Hagar, the scriptures tell Hagar in chapter 16, discovered she's pregnant, and she begins to, I believe the word was despised, but there was some kind of friction going on here. And the friction got to the point where Hagar has run away. And that's where we're stepping into it in Genesis 16. And hopefully we'll get through all of 16 today and get ready for chapter 17. So though Hagar has run from her position as a maidservant to Sarah, it's clear the Lord was keeping a watchful eye on her. And when Hagar reached this oasis, the Hebrew word is Ain, on the road back to Egypt. So she's running away from the camp of Abram back to Egypt, where she's from, we think. And the Lord, and here the Lord sent an angel to stop her. And the scriptures tell us an angel of the Holy One encountered her by the spring in the desert, in the oasis on the road to Shur. And the angel said to Hagar, maid of Sarah, from where are you coming and where are you going? And it was not of course that the angel didn't know where Hagar had come from. After all, he called her Hagar, maidservant of Sarah. And the question of the angel to Hagar was much like the question, where are you, that the Lord spoke out to Abram and to Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden after Adam and Eve, of course, had eaten the forbidden fruit. The question was designed not to elicit what we learn in schools, empirical information, but this was more what's going on in your heart, but it's spiritual information, a soul-searching from question that Hagar is being asked. Hagar was, and Hagar responds, and I want us to think about this. Hagar wasn't a liar. She didn't slander. She did not take the opportunity to play the victim. She didn't tell her sad story, but a true one, of an unwed mother's tale to elicit the angel's sympathy. She didn't say a negative thing about Sarah or Abram. She didn't try to blame anyone but herself for her present problems. And so I want us to give her credit for that, give her credit where credit is due. She told it just like it was. I am running away, scriptures tell us. She said, I am running away from my mistress Sarah, she replied. Now that she had been honest with herself, the right thing to do was suddenly pretty clear. And scriptures say the angel of the Holy One said to her, return to your mistress and submit yourself to her. And that settled it. Hagar would soon find out that she would not go back to Egypt, but would go back to Abram's camp. But she wouldn't go back the same person she was with this encounter. Something spiritually changed within her. I'm not going to say things were perfect, but there was enough of a change where she turns around and goes back to the camp. Her life is about to be transformed by a prophetic word that's going to be uttered here in 16, that the Lord will speak over her. And here it is. And the Hebrew translation, our English translation might not say this, and it kind of implies that next is another angel of the Holy One said, I will grant you many descendants. They will be so many that they will be uncountable. Think about that enough. This prophecy, in some cases, a lot of us, I would be satisfied with that in the sense that that would be enough prophecy to receive, but it goes further than that. She gets more of a prophecy spoken over her, and the Lord's not through by any long shot with her as she's in this desert or wilderness situation. And with regard to the unborn child, God says of Abram's seed that Hagar's carrying, the Lord directs the angel to prophetically reveal to her not only the child's gender, but also his name. And again, we get, it's almost like still another angel of the Lord, an angel of the Holy One said to her, you are pregnant and will give birth to a son. You are to name him Ishmael. God will, and it means God will hear. For the Holy One has heard your prayer, but the Lord is still not finished before Hagar leaves the oasis and before she takes one step back in the direction of Abram's camp, before she submits to Sarah, before she gives birth to the child on Sarah's knee, and before she nurses him for even a second. The Lord wants Hagar to know just what kind of a man her firstborn son is going to grow up to be. Thus the angel tells her, and quote, he will be rebellious, his hand will be against everyone, and everyone's hand will be against him. And before all his brothers will he dwell. We're not told that there was a punishment accorded to Hagar when she returned to the camp, or how well or how sadly or badly Sarah treated her over the next few months. But strengthened by this prophetic words the Lord had spoken to her, whatever happened, Hagar did not flinch or run. And so we come to the place where the Abrams, and a lot of rabbis call it, this is the fleshly son is born and not the spiritual son, Isaac. Here's where we are. And it's hard to imagine the emotions that were felt by the various people in Abram's camp on the day Hagar gave birth. Abram was finally a father. Sarah would finally hear the sound of a baby's cry in her own tent, and Hagar would know that the child she birthed on Sarah's knee would never be Sarah's child, only hers. Hagar, Scripture tells us, Hagar bore Abraham's son. Abram called the name of his son who had been born to Hagar Ishmael, And that's Genesis 16:15, if you're curious about that. And why did the Lord decree that his name would be Ishmael? God will hear. Well, in part, it's certainly because of the episode we reported in chapter 21 of Genesis, where Ishmael, then a lad, a young man, we think around 15, and his mother were banished from Abram's home. And at that time, in a desperate state of thirst, Ishmael cries out, and God hears and sends an angel to lead Hagar to water. Our God is not willing that any would perish. And so he hears. He has always been that way. It's always been so. But I can't help but think that maybe there's another level to this. God hears as well, to in a way be prophetically talking about Ishmael, who's and the effects that he has even today. While the Lord loves and calls to himself all peoples, it's no secret to anyone today that Ishmael is at least claimed by the Arabs as the progenitor of the Arab people, of all the many different groups, the peoples who more than all others have chosen to hate and desire the death of Abram's other descendant, the Jews. And it's no secret that in public, the self-proclaimed descendants of Ishmael often say they want peace with Israel, and the Jews, while in private, they plot acts of violence and hatred. We see that played out in news even today. The world seems at times completely deceived by this doublespeak that the leaders of the leaders of the United Nations, of Europe, and even the United States at times seem to fall for the duplicity that comes. We want peace, and then the next day there's bombs that go over towards Israel. They just seem to be fooled by this talk. We're just a people of peace. We just want peace. And Ishmael's descendants don't really seem to want that. I mean, that's not everybody, but we see this trend played out in history up to this day. And so the Lord, I can't help but think that the Lord had another level of meaning to Ishmael's name. The Lord hears. It's Ishmael. When the descendants plot evil against or slander the descendants of Isaac, you see maybe this idea that God will hear. And after God hears, he exposes and confronts the evil plans concocted in secret by those claiming to be descendants of Ishmael. And then the descendants of Isaac will be able to live up to their name as well, because Isaac's name means he will laugh. And so God knows the plots of the enemy. And then Isaac's name, when I say Isaac laughs, I'm not saying that it's a haunty laughter, saying, see, told you, glad he's getting you. I've seen some brothers and sisters kind of celebrate because other brother and sister was being punished, and that's not that. It's not this an arrogant laughter of the soul. What I think Isaac's name means is the joy of the Lord. It's a laughter that comes from the joy of the Lord, because God is defending him. God is protecting him. God is the giver of peace. And so it's the idea of Isaac means a joyous thanksgiving of those who know the redeeming power of God, of Abram, the God of Abram, Isaac, and Jacob, the joy that is found in Psalms 126. I think that's kind of And we'll get to Isaac a little bit later on, but right now, as we're confronting maybe some double meanings where God watches over his people and those who might plot evil. And so we'll be able to receive that joy that's talked about in Psalms 1:26. Then our mouth will be filled with laughter and our tongue with singing. Then those among the nations will say, the Holy One has done great things for them. The Holy One has done great things for us, and we are glad. Restore our fortunes again. The Holy One, like the streams in the Negev. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy. He who goes out weeping, carrying seed for sowing, will assuredly come again with joy, carrying his sheaves. Our time together is coming to a close here, and we're going to move into Genesis 17 here. So we're again establishing Ishmael. Ishmael is certainly blessed by God, but as we'll see, he and his descendants at times, not everyone, but many descendants will choose poorly and plot evil scenarios, and God will thwart them. God hears their cry in times of need because he wishes all people to be saved. But he also hears those evil plots, and he knows how to contend with those as well. I'll stop here today, and we'll begin Genesis 17, maybe a little bit this Friday, but just we'll bring Abram fully into our Bible study in the coming days. Well, God bless. Hope you have a great day. Hope to see you at worship on Sunday, either here on the internet or at our church. Blessings. Bye now.